Hey guys, Gremlin Lord here, and today we're going to talk about the Regal Mystery Movie that played on April 27th, 2026, and that movie was One Spoon of Chocolate. Unique is a veteran and ex-convict seeking a fresh start in a small town in Ohio. After an altercation with a gang of hostile locals, he starts to suspect they may have something to do with the disappearance of young black men in the area. Instead of waiting for his turn to be picked off, Unique decides to fight back in a sharply satirical and stylish action thriller from the visionary leader of the Wu-tang Clan, the RZA.
Rated R.
The movie opens on a young black man hitchhiking. He's picked up by some ladies and they travel to a convenience store. When he leaves this store, he is surrounded by a group of masked white men. I'm sure you can see where this is going. The man ends up on the table of a twisted doctor and the stage is set. We shift to a prison cell, where Randy Unique Johnson is shadowboxing. Unique is played by Shameik Moore, who I only know as Miles Morales from the animated Spider-Verse movies. This is my first time seeing him in a live-action film, and he wasn't great. The character is supposed to have this quiet intensity, like a monk with a storm brewing inside. You can see Moore trying to convey that, but it comes off flat and disinteresting. This is especially true in a later scene when he is given some devastating news. His teammate is giving the appropriate amount of emotion, but Moore is just kind of standing there with a frozen face like, the dialogue isn't great, and he can't make it any better. I will say that Moore does a good job with the physicality of the role. Once released from prison, Unique convinces his parole officer to transfer him to Ohio, where his only living family member lives, a cousin. Blair Underwood is the parole officer, and he plays the part well. He has that law enforcement role down pat. In Ohio, we meet Unique's cousin, Ramses Johnson, played by R.J. Seiler. We are also introduced to his girlfriend, Aretha, played by Emery Crutchfield, and her friend Darla, played by Paris Jackson. And yes, she is the daughter of Michael Jackson. Hee hee. Everyone does their best with this lackluster dialogue. This was my first time seeing Paris Jackson act, and I thought she was fine. I think with a better script, she could probably do something great. Tragedy strikes the group and Unique makes a plan for revenge. Aside from the terrible dialogue, I found the narrative to be poorly constructed. There is an excessive amount of foreshadowing and recalling throughout. For example, the title of the movie probably seems kind of odd, but it comes from Unique's experience in a shelter with an almost empty can of chocolate milk mix. A prophetic old man tells him, "One spoon of chocolate can change your milk." And we hear that same line echoing back to us later on in the film. Like when Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "Use the Force, Luke." Now, I actually like this metaphor. Unique is the single spoon of chocolate in the milk town in Ohio. He can make a change, even as one person. I found that powerful and kind of obvious. There are tons of things that the camera lingers on that come up later. It felt like the movie was trying to tell you, hey, there's a breadcrumb over here, come check it out. And of course we would see it later, usually with an echoey narrative voiceover. I assume all of this is an homage to the classic campy type of films, but I found it a bit excessive. There's even a callback to Red Apple cigarettes, which are featured in Quentin Tarantino films, who is the producer of this film. One Spoon of Chocolate is an action drama, but there is a little comedy in there as well. All of this plays into the overall message. First, the fictional town in Ohio is called Karensville because it's full of white Karens. It's run by the racist sheriff and his racist cops. There's a white gang that terrorizes people of color. Obviously, both of these factions share many of the same members. I wonder if that happens in real life. This is a very action-heavy film. However, the violence was more subdued than I was expecting. I appreciated that in some parts, but was disappointed in others. The film shows multiple young black men being brutalized by white supremacists. These moments are 100% violent and can be hard to watch. However, a lot is not shown, leaving the viewer to imagine the cruelty. We see the swinging of bats and pipes, but not always the impacts. Then you would see the bloody results. Honestly, I think this was the better choice rather than showing it all. I feel like violence against young black men is often exploited for artistic gains. Their tragedies become our entertainment. Like how slavery or racial struggle movies are more revered than other forms of black art. My complaint is that this pull away from the violence continues throughout the whole movie, even when it was the racist being beaten up. Look, if we're going to see a bunch of Klansmen get their stuff stomped in, I want to see it all. I want to see every punch, kick, scratch, stab, everything. Why? Because they deserve it, especially in this movie. Unfortunately, the big finale fight sequences are marred by quick cuts, shaky cams, and poor lighting. It's still brutal if you can tell what's happening, and you can't rely on the sound to help you out either, because the RZA favored to use canned kung fu sound effects in the fights. You know, like And again, I understand he enjoys these effects. I did play Wu-tang Shaolin Style on PlayStation. But it lessens the severity of the action, even adding a comical edge to it. Which is weird, especially when young black men are being attacked. At least the music throughout the film was enjoyable. Much of it is from writer and director the RZA himself. He is known for his eclectic style. While I didn't recognize a lot of it, I found it fitting for most of the scenes. The pacing throughout was okay, but not without its flaws. The second half of the film has the audience seeing long sections of Unique preparing for his revenge. It's basically his own Iron Man cave sequence. He reads a survival book, which when opened bathes his face in this golden light, much like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. He's crafting weapons, armors, and tools. We also see him create this rubber-covered samurai-looking suit. At first, I thought this is ridiculous, and it looks ridiculous. But then I remembered how old kung fu movies really influenced the RZA, and I bought into this idea. But alas, nothing happens with it. He spars with the suit, but then leaves it behind. If you're gonna do this whole one-man army fight sequence, you might as well wear a rubber samurai suit. During all of these prep clips, we see the rest of the cast living their lives. Unique takes a back seat to these stories. I did like seeing how the rest of the cast's lives were affected and connected to the white crime ring. This narrative shift was weird though, because when we went back to Unique, I thought, oh yeah, he's in this movie too. Sidelining the main character was a bad choice. And it's just one of the poor choices that plagued One Spoon of Chocolate. They all culminated in this abrupt, choose-your-own ending finale. My audience was invested. Does the hero exact his final revenge on the racists, or is him winning all the revenge that he needs? We don't know. The screen went black and my entire audience let out an audible groan of disappointment. I couldn't help but laugh. In fact, almost everyone stayed in their seats throughout all of the credits to see if there was any extra scenes at the end. Spoiler alert, there aren't. In the end, One Spoon of Chocolate felt like the first draft of a film. The dialogue felt like placeholders. So many ideas were undercooked. And I really wanted to see the racist fully laid out. And it's for these reasons that I am giving the Regal Mystery Movie One Spoon of Chocolate the half-baked score of 4 out of 10. Look, I can see the RZA's enthusiasm in this film. It feels like a long time coming passion project, and that may be enough for a lot of people. But for me, the execution was just poor and unpolished. But what did you think about One Spoon of Chocolate? Slide into my comments below and let me know. If you happen to miss the early screening, the film will release on May 1st, 2026. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because I'm one of the good ones. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.